Welcome into the Flat Earth Explained lecture. Today I'm going to go over the physics of a flat Earth and why the Earth is most definitely a flat disk instead of a sphere, as most people will tell you. This, of course, is incorrect. So, as you know, many of you have been taught that the Earth is a sphere. This is nonsense. The Earth is not a sphere. The Earth is flat. I think we have all established this. Some people are trying to brainwash you. Don't listen to them. The Earth is as flat as a pancake. Okay? So keep that in mind. Let's continue on in our lecture. Let's talk about the physics of a flat Earth. We're going to talk about how the Earth and why the Earth is flat. So here on a flat Earth. So here we've got the Earth right here. All right. So what happens is the Earth is accelerating upwards at a constant speed. So it's actually not accelerating; it's just going up at a constant speed. This creates the sensation of gravity, and I'll go over gravity in a couple of slides. But that makes up for gravity. Which is why we are stuck to the ground and not flying away. So this sphere is moving upwards at a constant rate. What creates the sun, you must ask? Well, that is a spotlight. A spotlight sun illuminates part of the globe, and it goes around the Earth like this. During the northern hemisphere summer, it gets closer to the northern, gets closer here, and then closer to the North Pole. And as it gets to southern hemisphere winter, or if you want to call it a southern disk, or perhaps you want to call it an outer disk because it's close to the outer disk. During the summer, it goes over here towards this area, and there is no South Pole. It's just not a thing. We'll get to the moon. We'll get to other planetary objects in a couple of slides. But a commonly misconstrued thing about a flat Earth is, you could just walk off. This is nonsense. You cannot walk off of a flat Earth for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's impossible to even get to the edge of the Earth. If you try to get to the edge of the Earth, it would be impossible. The only way to get to the edge of the Earth is if we go in a dimension. If we go in a dimension we don't know how to go to. So if you walk, you automatically walk in a circle. You walk in a ellipse, or whatever you want to call it. If you could see it on a large scale when playing Fly. If we have the Mercator projection up, which does an okay job of representing a flat Earth, what will happen is you're going to see some curved lines. Well, this is also, didn't want to go there. This also explains normal walking behavior of an object on Earth, and the reason why you go in a circle when you walk is due to a couple of reasons. Number one, the disc is spinning, and that really helps. That really makes you have to go in like an ellipse. It's impossible to go straight. It is impossible to go straight. You can go in a certain number of directions like this, but you cannot go straight, and you cannot get there. You cannot get to the edge of the world. It is impossible. We can get down here, but we cannot quite get to the edge. Okay? Theoretically, could we jump off? Yes, but it is impossible to get there. Okay, so those are the very basic physics of a flat Earth. Now let's move on to some things you must know. Okay, 3 important laws. I only have 2 up. Here's the third one. 3 important laws. Let's start with Newton's law. This explains the tides. So what happens is we have sort of a contribution of the Earth spinning that creates a centrifugal force on the oceans, and what makes a huge difference is the sun, and where that sun is. As we know, water expands as it heats up. Okay, so when the sun is over a part of the ocean, that will heat up the water, expand it, and the ocean tides will flow away from there. And you can see this pattern pretty clearly. If you look at a world map of the tides, it comes out pretty well. And that was what Newman said. That was Newman's law. It was a very important law that he came up with. Gilson was not a smart man, but he did come up with a pretty big contribution to the Flat Earth Society and the Flat Earth idea, and that would be instead of having a little g when we're talking about gravitation, which of course is not true, he replaced it with the Greek letter nu, which is just like an N with a tail on the end of it, or on the front of it. So that explains that. The Lynch theorem, Lynch again, he was semi-smart, but nobody really liked him. But what Lynch said was that if you get higher up, the perception of a curved Earth continues because, and this is because of the human's eye, the range is not quite good enough for you to see the entirety of the Earth, and what your mind does is it compensates. It makes it look like a sphere when you get high enough. Now, you have to get really high for this, really high. So even if you get on a plane doesn't get high enough for you to be able to see the circular rotation of the Earth, or the Lynch theorem. It just doesn't get high enough. If you were to go even higher, you might be able to see it. But that's what Lynch said, and Lynch was correct in his theorem. Okay? Other planets and stars explained. Well, there are other planets, and there are other stars, and they are flat. And they are very far away. Very far away. We talk about the main planets in our solar system. The only one that is actually real is Venus. And Mars is, we don't know about Mars, but we know for sure Venus is a flat disk. It is tilted towards us a little bit more. We can see it a little bit better during when the disk is at a certain, or when the spotlight sun is at a certain angle. We can look up and see it. But as for other planets, we know they exist, but we just don't know where. So, it's kind of a weird thing, but it's something that you have to understand. Okay? Other planets and stars explained. There you go. Stars, on the other hand, they do exist as well, but they're very far away, which is why we can barely see them at night through our atmosphere. Yep. I talked about the spotlight sun and why it must be true, according to the theorems. Now, the moon. The moon is one of the main reasons why people believe the Earth is flat. Because when you look up at the moon, why is it when I look up at that moon, I see the same side of it every single night? That is because the moon is flat. Okay? The moon is flat, and we look up and we see the only side of the moon. And really, no Earth science has not been able to explain this. When you look up at the sky, you only see one side of the moon. Okay? So those are some basics. We'll go into some other basics here. Let's start with the greenhouse effect. Now, this is something science has been trying to cover up a little bit, but the greenhouse effect. What shape is a greenhouse? When you go to a greenhouse, so you got the glass dome, which traps the heat in like a greenhouse, as we know. But the greenhouse, what is the bottom? It's flat. The bottom is flat. That must mean that the Earth is flat. Okay? That must mean the Earth is flat. There is no ifs, ands, and buts. If you look at this projection, it is semi-true. The spotlight sun is way too far away in this projection, so it's not quite true. But as we know, the greenhouse effect affects greenhouses. And the Earth is kind of like a greenhouse. But greenhouses are not spheres. Greenhouses are flat. That is why the Earth is flat. Well, the Earth's magnetic field. This is a very interesting one. Well, it's kind of an imaginary thing when you think about it, but it does exist. What happens is the bottom of the the bottom of the disk gets very hot as it travels downward upward at a very high velocity. This creates kind of a thermo reaction, and it creates neurons to separate from their protons This creates the magnetic field. So pretty simple stuff right here. Meteorology on a flat Earth does not change too much. The physics still work out to be about what the government and other weather agencies have told us. Can the government control the weather? We don't know. Chances are they can, but we don't know that for sure. There's just not enough data in, and as scientists, we need data to prove a theory. Okay, gravity isn't real. Nope. Listen, nobody has explained gravity well to me at all. So for some reason, when you get bigger, when something accumulates more mass, it can suck in more mass. It doesn't make any sense. We can't measure gravity. We can't see it. We can't do anything with it. We can't fix it. We can't do gravity. It's a ridiculous notion. It is a ridiculous notion of gravity. Gravity's not real, and if you think it is real, you need to watch this video. As we can see, it's just look at that. Does that look any real to you? A quark star? Are you kidding me? How ridiculous is that? All right, let's talk about how a round Earth is impossible. What is one of the main things scientists say? Straight lines do not happen in a universe. They do not happen in a vacuum. Okay? You don't see patterns happen in vacuums. You don't see them. This is why a sphere cannot occur. A sphere is too perfect of a shape. And we all talk about how patterns can't happen and these perfect things can't happen when you go out in space and you go out into an environment. What is the saying? Something about nature, but it's just it can't happen. Can't happen. And another big complaint that I have is just look at planes. If planes took off on a round Earth, they would fly off the planet. And that is because the Earth would curve below them and they would go flying off into space. Okay, this also happens to be true with other sports. We talk about cricket, talk about baseball, golf especially. Golf balls would go absolutely flying off the Earth if the Earth was a sphere. Gravity or no gravity. There are other examples as well. Talk about dribbling a basketball. You could not dribble a basketball on a sphere. It is impossible. You would only be able to dribble it on a flat surface. As we know, if we try to dribble something on a spherical surface, it goes flying everywhere. That doesn't quite happen on the Earth, does it? So that means the Earth must be flat. The government is lying to you. I'm right. They're wrong, and you need to be listening to me. All right, connection to the birds aren't real movement. A lot of similarities. We like each other. They are a great movement. And what is the birds not real movement or aren't real movement? What is it based on? What it says is birds are not real, and what they are is their government drones to spy on us. And you know what? I can't deny it. I mean, when you look and see that the Earth is flat, I wouldn't be shocked if birds aren't real either. Science shows that possibly could not be. It's definitely a possibility. So, with that being said, there is a big possibility that the government could be lying to us about both of these things. I mean, where do birds go in the winter? They disappear. They disappear and they do not come back until the spring. What happens to them is the question that we don't know. Okay? Birds wouldn't just disappear if they were real. They wouldn't. Okay? This is common sense. All right, closing remarks. Thank you for watching. Please like and share the video. It's really important to me, really important to everybody in the movement. No, this is definitely not a joke. This is right. This is true. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we will see you in the next video.